There is water falling from the entire ceiling. I was like, guys, the building is gonna come down.
Hey, it's Sarah, and you're listening to Travel Like You. We're back with a very good friend of mine, Maddie, an American in Paris, not to be confused with Emily in Paris, who is, yes, equally as glamorous, but Maddie's French is way better. She, much like me, is no stranger to the real struggle of moving abroad. So if you're curious about how we got here, how we've managed to stay, and everything in between, from finding jobs, renewing visas, getting a master's degree, and even intimately getting to know the French justice system, well, buckle up for some never-before-told stories about what this life is really like and why we choose to keep living it.
Hey.
Hi, Maddie.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy you're here.
I know. I'm so excited to finally get to do this.
I know. And you're in Bordeaux,
Yes.
which is the first time in 2 years.
Crazy.
The last time you came was for Carnival, right?
Yes, and I also wanted to see what the city was like because I did apply to masters here. Didn't end up choosing a master's here, but
So it's been a while, but we've seen each other in between.
yes.
And so, obviously, if it isn't already obvious, Maddie and I know each other already. She's no stranger. She's one of my good friends that I met in France. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Maddie or Madeline. I'm 27 years old. This is now going on my 6th year in France, which is crazy. I now found a job, finally, who's willing to sponsor me and everything. I work at the Alliance Française in Paris. The first one that was ever created, founded in part by Jules Verne, which is pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I'm just working and living in France with the intention to stay. And so that's kind of the theme of today, right? Like the trials and tribulations of staying in France as
Oh my goodness.
a non-European.
Yeah, if anyone is like a great example of that, it's Maddie. And we'll learn probably on this episode, I as well have become the poster child for doing anything possible to stay
Literally.
in France. And Maddie really gets that. We get each other on that front.
It's so hard.
It's so hard, but we've always made it work. Again, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. This is my tick.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if I say this multiple times.
We will see that in this episode, I think.
Yes.
Before we jump in to all of your travels and trials and tribulations,
Yes.
we have to do something very important, which is start with the no context story. For those of
Yes.
you who do not know what that is a brief sort of clickbait headline to a story that the guest gets to decide whether or not to share. But for now, all we get is one line.
Okay.
And what do you got for us?
So it's a quote from a movie I've actually still never seen. It's like a 3-hour-long movie, so I'm like avoiding it. From Titanic.
Okay. I haven't seen it
believe-
either, so people are going to hate us for that.
I know. I've also never seen Lion King,
Okay, that's
which is
fucked.
like
Maddie.
problematic.
Okay, I don't approve
I
of that
know.
one. Okay.
But yes, I believe it goes something like, "I want you to draw me like one of your French girls."
Oh, that's your line? That's your
Yes,
no context.
My lips are sealed for now.
For now, okay. Oh,
That's it. Just
okay.
that draws
All right.
the listeners in.
Yeah, I can. Oh, well, nice pun. All right. We'll leave it at that. Okay. So we were saying, Maddie and I met years ago now, back in Nantes, and that was your second year doing the teaching assistant program in France. It was my first year doing TAPIF, the teaching assistant program in France. That's what that stands for. And tell me a little bit about who you are, I guess, as someone who's come from the U.S. to France. Like at that point, I guess, we were both still, getting our feet wet as
Totally.
immigrants, expats,
Yeah,
whatever you want to say.
for sure.
And tell me how kind of that all started.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy, very random. This is linked. It'll make sense. But basically, I had kind of a weird hobby growing up. I'm not even Irish or anything. But when I was 5 years old on St. Patrick's Day, because, they show like on news Irish dancers every year. It's very common in the US. And so I was watching like Good Morning America, and they had some Irish dancers on. And I had been taking like some tap and ballet classes, and I saw these Irish dancers on the screen, and I told my mom literally, hey, I want to do that. And she found an Irish dance school and signed me up.
Oh my gosh.
And then it randomly just became like, it was like my hidden talent. Literally, from the age of 10, I attended the first World Championships in Dublin.
Oh my God, world champion.
Age of 9, actually, it was 2011. Yeah,
Oh my
it was like I
God.
was randomly really good at this sport. I still, to this day, because you don't move your arms, I like, if I go to a club, I like don't know how to move my arms. Literally. It's like for 13 years, my arms were pinned to my side. I used to get, because the judges write you comments too, and it's like
True.
arms, because I had this arm that was always like
twitching.
My coach said it looked like I was walking a dog. You're supposed to keep your arms totally stiff. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of, traveling to Ireland from such a young age and stuff, and I went to the World Championships in London in 2014. There were sometimes it was in like the US too.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of enticed me to want to move abroad, or at least study abroad, which I then ended up doing. I went to the University of Oregon. I'm from Portland.
Right.
Well, I'll say the Portland area because people get offended because I grew up in the suburbs. But yeah, so I studied abroad for a couple months in Italy to fulfill a language requirement. I don't, stereotypical US, like we study languages, end up not knowing how to speak them.
Yeah.
Same for me with Spanish and Italian. But I did study abroad in Italy in the south, in a town called Lecce for 2 months.
Okay.
That wasn't planned, but I always had the intention of studying abroad for like 6 months in my junior year of college in Ireland, just to like tie it back to, my Irish dance career and everything.
That was always like one of your dreams, to study abroad in Ireland.
And specifically like my university, it was like either you study abroad in the fall for like 3 months or from January to June. And so I wanted to be there for like the 6-month period, which I did. So, and when I had studied abroad in Italy, we had like a week break. So me and a couple of my classmates, we went to Paris, and I just like actually literally fell in love. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I'm going to move here. And then I remember we came back to class and we had to talk about our vacation. And I was like, oh yeah, we went to Paris. And I remember one of my teachers made a comment, was like, you kind of look French, Maddie. I don't even know if I look French, but anyways, but that kind of planted a seed too, I think, in my head.
Yeah.
I actually wrote an essay about that later in my French program, I think. Anyways, but then I went to Ireland, had the time of my life. I will say, compared to French people, especially, Irish people are so genuine and so kind. And I feel like it's different than American kindness that can sometimes be inauthentic and fake, I feel like when
like
Irish...
superficial, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like
to strangers?
for a tip, oh my gosh, what are you guys up to today when you go to Starbucks, and they're like asking about your life and they probably don't care. Sometimes it's nice to hear that, even though it's fake, but Irish people are just genuinely like super genuine. Like, I feel like when they're asking about who you are in your life, like they actually mean it. I had a great time studying abroad there, made a lot of good friends. Like, it was really fun. I remember one time we took like one of the paddy wagon tours to Killarney. And
what is a paddy wagon tour?
It's like this company where they usually go out of Dublin and you can just like go to like, Cliffs of Moher or Killarney, and you just get on this bus. And it's like a cheap way to travel around if you like don't have a car, or if you don't want to rent a car and precariously drive around the tiny.
For the record, yes, because that's
remember
something crazy. Just quick side note, I did a van trip with some people my first year of Tapif, and I just want to say, if you rent a van or a car, be careful because only one person knew how to drive manual, and she was rusty, and the roads were small and on the opposite side. So we were all from the US trying to drive. So
oh my gosh.
We wanted to be able to get around and see all these amazing things like Killarney and the Cliffs of Moher and all these things. How would you describe Killarney? Because you went there.
It's a very quaint city. There's lots of like like in the city, they always have these little strings with little flags and cute little pastel colors. I love Killarney. It's a really, really cute little quaint town.
Right.
But I was going to say, this is one of the early travel mishaps I had, is especially in an American, we call it quote unquote military time, but we had taken the paddy wagon, the bus there, and then we had one to go back. And our bus was at 18 hours, which we thought was 8 p.m. It's 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
And that was the last bus of the day. And so we had to like pay to stay an extra night in our hostel, and like
brutal.
I remember one of my friends was like really hard on himself, really upset, like that he messed up. And I was like, it's fine. Like, roll with the punches. That's the life of traveling and living abroad. It's just like it happens.
It does. But that's one of those silly little things you kind of mess up from the beginning. To this day, will sometimes still mess up military time or the 24-hour clock, because I see like 8 and I'm like, 8 p.m., but it's 6 p.m.
Literally.
Like,
it's minus
even though
2.
it's 18, for some reason, like my brain just bugs. And so it doesn't even have to be on your first trip. It could be on your
literally
100th trip abroad, and you have to use the 24-hour clock. That's so funny.
From that day, I changed my phone to quote unquote military time and have not looked back, literally.
Oh my gosh.
But
even when you were back in the US, you were using the 24-hour
I never
clock?
changed it back. Well, now my
Too
phone's
funny.
totally in French too,
same.
just because
that's the way it is.
it's just the way it is. I changed it back to English for the Spotify Wrapped because I didn't want the cringe like French translations of that. But
that's funny.
Other than that, military only.
Yeah.
And
well, that's one way to force yourself to do it, is to learn a hard lesson like that.
So make sure you know what time it is, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's something to adjust to, right? Like adjusting to driving on the other side of the road.
Yeah. My dad does that every time. My parents love to rent cars. They love the UK specifically. It's like, and my dad's always the one behind the wheel. I never want to do that.
I
never dream of it. I love driving.
Yeah, I love driving too. Scares the crap out of
me.
Yeah, I'm also a little scared. I've never had the opportunity to. I would try it, but I would be gripping the steering wheel.
I'd be stressed. I'd be like,
ooh. And imagine this girl who, bless her soul, like was driving a van with pretty much strangers. Like, her whole goal was to get us to somewhere safely, and we did get into 2 accidents. So it was a 2
accidents.
It was a 2-week trip, but I was only there for the second week. They got into an accident the first week while I wasn't there. They ran into something or hit some car, not somebody.
Oh my gosh.
But not like hard, like in a parking lot or something.
Did you have to like pay for it?
So that's the story. So the second week, she like backed up into something, and again in a parking lot, and we're all like, she's the only one who can drive. We understand, whatever. Gonna be totally honest, like, unfortunately I didn't really stay in contact with these girls. They were all lovely, but we had like a little tiff at the end of this whole trip because they wanted me to pay for the accident I wasn't there for, when we were paying for like the final price of the van for 2 weeks.
That's not okay.
So it was not cool, and I didn't really know what to do, and I tried to defend myself, and long story short, I ended up paying for the accident that I wasn't there for.
No.
Ay. But nonetheless, like, I was there for that second half of that trip. And what was so important was that, we had the chance to see Ireland from like our own freedom of having a car or a van, So like the paddy wagon thing, that's really cool to know.
Yes,
I didn't really know there was another option.
It's great.
And if you want to go to Ireland and not only see Dublin or not only see Galway, like, you fly into one of the major airports, and if you want to actually see the rest of this gorgeous country, oh my God, we saw so many beautiful things. We didn't necessarily, I think maybe we tried to go to the Cliffs of Moher, but it was too windy that day. That's what it was. Oh my gosh.
I feel like every time I've gone there, it's
dangerously
so windy.
It's known for being windy, but it was dangerously, there was a warning, and we stepped out of the van, and like, I could have been blown away. We weren't on the edge of the cliff, but I could have been blown out of the parking lot. And there was no one there because there was the warning. But we just wanted to see if we could get up there. We went to other cliffs though, and it was magical, absolutely magical.
Dingle, like, iconic. Another kind of. That
was another place. I don't remember off the top of my head if we went, but we did some crazy stuff where we saw, like, there was this one hike we did where we went to the top of it. It literally looks like a caricature of a mountain because it's like super pointy, like a triangle. And it's so funny. I don't remember exactly where it was, but we go, and the crazy part of the story was mostly like we're walking through the forest. We see this like peak. We go up to it, and on our way down, it's just beautiful, right? We cross paths with a Irish farmer and his dog who are herding sheep, and he's like yelling at the dog, and he has like thick accent stuff. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this whole herd of sheep, like we watched the dog herd like, I don't know, 100 sheep who were freaking out because he's chasing them all down the road, and we're just like in the middle of it. It was the craziest thing.
That's so Irish though, I feel.
I really felt like I was in the middle of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, like my parents visited me later and they rented the car, and we went to so many different like places that you couldn't reach by paddy wagon, for example. But it's it's stunning. Like Scotland, in my opinion, might be prettier, but similar vibes, I guess. Right. The Isle of Skye in Scotland, stunning.
I've only been once, and I went to Edinburgh, to Scotland, and it was funnily enough because I was Schengen hopping, and so
which
that
we'll get to later.
Which we'll get to later. But basically my visa was running out, or my visa ran out, and I had to change my status, which at the time was something that you needed to do physically, leave the Schengen zone, which is a specific group of countries in Europe. You have to go to a country that isn't in that zone and then come back, and then your visa goes from being an expired, let's say, working visa into a tourist visa. So that's complicated. We'll get into it later.
Yes.
But that's the only reason why I was in Edinburgh. Yeah. And I was only there for like 2-3 days, but it was gorgeous.
You feel like you're in the Harry Potter franchise.
For real.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's actually crazy because basically I studied in Ireland, right? And then I had my senior year of college, which was then cut short because of COVID. I'm a 2020 graduate, graduated online and everything. And I was kind of depressed because I still had the idea that I wanted to move to Europe or to France. And I had debated like adding another degree on top of what I was doing. I studied international relations, and my mom was like, Maddie, just take some French classes. Like that could like motivate you or whatever. But then COVID happened. I took like one class basically of French. I had studied Italian and Spanish before, like I said. And so then I also applied to a master's program. I applied to the American University in Paris, actually. But this one French teacher I had, she told me, I like went into her office hours for something. This is right before the lockdown. And I was like, hey, like, I actually think I maybe like want to move to France. Like, I applied to this master's degree, but it's an American university, so it was really expensive. I wasn't too sure I wanted to jump into a master's degree right away either because of COVID. And so she told me literally a week before, she goes, actually, there's this like English teaching program in France, and they just extended the deadline 1 week. I'll write you a rec letter if you want. And I was like, okay, well, then I looked at the requirements, and you have to have B1 French. I had A0.
Right, you're taking one
0.5,
class maybe.
You know?
Oh my goodness.
So I applied anyways, and then I got into the American University in Paris, and then I got waitlisted for TAPIF, but then so many people didn't want to go because of COVID that I got the place. Wow. And it was in this little beach town known for this famous boat race in France called the Vendée Globe, if anyone knows what that is.
That's cool.
And my reference teacher, my person of contact with my first year of TAPIF was like, oh, we know this like couple who has hosted many language assistants before, like we have housing for you already. So because I didn't want to go to school when it was locked down, I decided to just go for it. And so I literally arrived to France not knowing a lick of French. Luckily, the woman in the couple, they were like a retired couple. She spoke really good English. The dad, not at all. And I remember for the first few months too, like the language anxiety was so crazy that I kind of just shut down and I didn't even try. I was like, it's like a lost cause. You know what I mean?
That's so crazy to jump in it so fast, though.
The accent is so different
Yeah.
too. Like
And
words are similar, but
then you're living in France all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's super anxiety inducing.
it's so crazy. I remember Gage, our friend, once. Yeah, I remember he texted me once and it was like, she really just came to France with a vocab list and a dream. I was like, genuinely, literally, like I just showed up. When I showed up, the restrictions for COVID were like chill, but then like a month in, then France got extremely strict. You know, it was like, this is before you had to have the pass sanitaire, but it was like you could only leave for an hour a day if you weren't going to work. And I was considered an essential worker because I was a teacher, but it was like masks, you know, the whole time.
Wow.
I remember I would go on my little beach walk for like my hour of the day. But like, it was honestly a really rough year, I will say. I didn't really make any friends. My friends were like the teachers I worked with, but I was in this tiny village. The restrictions were insane. But I learned French pretty well, I would say, after a year. Like I was talking and everything, you know, it wasn't perfect. It'll be a constant battle, you know,
Yeah.
the imposter syndrome and of
Yeah,
it all
true.
and everything.
Well, let me stop you right there because Maddie is amazing in French. Maddie's French is so good, and you'll hear why later. But just the fact that she took such a huge risk, like I have been around a version of French, right, since I've been born because my family is from Montreal, Canada. My dad's first language is French. Like my grandparents speak French, etc. And so I could still say a few sentences here and there. I didn't become even remotely fluent until moving to France, but I had like a basis. I took French in high school. I took a little bit in college. Like I had something, and in the same amount of time, like you are still worlds ahead of me in like vocabulary and like
I don't know
cultural
anymore,
knowledge
but-
and all this stuff. I feel like you put all of this effort into it, and it really, really paid off. So
Thank you.
give yourself
That's
the
very
kudos
nice.
you deserve.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough still to this day,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know it
but
is.
I love it though. I love speaking another language. I think it's one of the motivating factors for me to stay, I think.
Yeah.
Like I've, you know, thought about I thought about Ireland as a place to move, but I really wanted to speak another language. Like I thought it was fun. I almost majored in that too. Ended up not, but then it came January of that year. I was still doing tapif, and I had the idea of being an au pair for that summer for just like a quick stint because I thought it would be fun to look at a different area of France and do it in between because I did have the intention of doing tapif again.
So between year 1 and 2.
Yes.
Okay.
And
What is an au pair?
an au pair is basically like they're usually, well, it can be anyone, it doesn't have to be a woman, but it can be a man, a young foreign person who comes into a family and helps them handle their children and or teach them another language is usually one of the perks to it. And so I started researching because I wanted to do this during the summer. I went on a website called Au Pair World. It's like a dating app for families, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
And I did so much research for months, and it came down to like these two different families. One was near Lyon, which I ended up moving to later in life. But I really wanted to go to that area. I think it's one of the cities we know as Americans. For some reason, I knew Lyon, and I had named one of my old Animal Crossing towns, dude, as a kid, Lyon, literally.
Oh my God,
I know,
it's fate.
full circle, crazy. But the other family was in Toulouse.
Okay.
They were going to go on vacation to Corsica, and the au pair was going to go with them, which was a motivating factor for me as well. But I will say I FaceTimed both of them. I liked the other family better. And the kids were older. I'm way better with older kids. Hence why I wanted to teach secondary school for tapif and not primary, because I'm way better with like adolescents than like young kids. But the kids in Toulouse were 2 and 4, I believe, or That's 2 and 5. The little one was turning 3. I ended up choosing them because I wanted to go to Corsica. Like, what do you mean? That sounds cool. Crazy. Like, let's go. So I chose them, showed up, just had my one suitcase from my year, you know, doing tapif. And I quickly realized, because I had the intention of changing my worker visa to an au pair visa, I realized that takes a long time.
Right.
So I decided to just Schengen hop. At the time, Croatia was not a part of the Schengen area. I believe now it is.
Okay.
I did a solo trip to Croatia. I did meet some cool people there too, some other like single lady travelers, and like we had fun, and it was a quick little stint. People were really nice there too. It was beautiful. I did like a boat cruise. Literally just went there to Schengen hop though. Came back as a quote unquote tourist. But then I came back, and essentially the family was like, hey, so we're quickly realizing that our kids need a super nanny and not an au pair. To kind of explain what the kids were like, one day I picked the little one up from preschool, and the lady pulled me aside and was like, just so you know, he did bite another kid in the face today.
Oh, in the face?
I was like, oh,
right. Okay.
And keep in mind, like I said, I also am not great with disciplining like tiny children as it is. They didn't respect me. I mean, the parents, without going into details, they had a parenting method that I guess I would say I don't really agree with.
Right.
And so I get back from Croatia, and they essentially sat me down. They were super rude. The wife especially, she was like kind of talking down, like, what do you even do during the day when you're not working? I was like exploring the city, doing whatever I want. Like, what do you mean? Like, kind of strange. And she basically was like, you're not like a super nanny. We need actual help. Do you have an apartment in France you can go to? Like, basically we're kicking you out, you're fired. And I like, my anxiety like came true.
Oh my God. Worst fear.
One thing France has taught me is to stand up for myself and have a lot more self-respect for myself, because I just let her say all of that to me. I didn't really say anything. I was just kind of sat there like shocked and whatever.
Wow.
And then I went to bed and sobbed, called my parents. I was like, what do I do? And they wanted me to continue working that week. And they also, she wanted to like take back some of the pay or something. Crazy. So they wanted me to continue working that week, and basically they both went to work, and they had like a maid. They were super rich. The mom was a lawyer. I remember we went shopping for the little one's birthday, and we were in like the French equivalent of Toys R Us, and she spent like I'm not joking, like 800 euros at the checkout. Whoa. We both had like the giant cart, like she like spoiled kids, like just to explain. So my dad was like, just leave. Like, screw them. Just leave while they're at work. Like, don't keep working for them. Like, that was super rude. Like, get out of there. So I packed up. I could have handled this better looking back. Sure. But this isn't my people pleaser phase where I just let her say all that to me and then left and sent like a cowardly email being like, that wasn't very nice, but bye.
Yeah.
You don't want me here anyways. You fired me. And then I found an Airbnb and was in this Airbnb back on the au pair world, like searching. And I found last minute a family who was also in urgent need. Like, they have 4 kids and one of their kids like injured his knee. And so they send all of the other kids to different summer camps in the summer. And so they couldn't send him to summer camp anymore, and the parents work. And even the dad was still working in Orléans, I think, like commuting from a village just outside of Paris. And so I was like, all right, I FaceTimed them. They had FaceTimed me and one other guy, and they decided me. They were desperate. We hit it off. I go. The kid, like, to this day, we're still close. And they have a chalet in the Alps. I ended up spending Christmas with them later this year.
Happy ending.
Yes, great. And like, I recently had lunch with them too, because now I live in Paris.
Yeah.
It's great family. He's all grown up now. He's like, I think 18 now. He's going to school in Paris even. We had lunch recently, like nearby where I work. Like, it all worked out. But that is to say, even if you do your research, like do more, or don't choose a family just because they're taking a trip to Corsica.
Yeah.
Because I liked the other family better. I did. But
and you didn't really feel prepared to take care of small children.
No. And that's the job.
Yeah, and that's the job for sure.
They wanted a nanny. You know what I mean?
They needed more than an au pair, and that's not cool on their part to expect an au pair, which is, again, a foreigner who's supposed to come and only work a certain amount of hours.
Yeah.
And
they wanted to overwork me.
Yeah, and that's not fair. So.
And I didn't even speak English with the kids. That's not something they wanted. And so that was kind of unfortunate.
Right, because that's also part of the gig.
Yeah, and they didn't care about that aspect. And even, I think, as an au pair, you have the option to, like, take French classes, and the family should pay for them for you. And, like, I had a year in France, but I don't know what level I would have been, but it was, like, maybe A2, B1. Yeah. I don't know at that point. She was like, oh, your French is fine. Like, we're not going to pay for that. And I was like, goodness. Okay.
The thing is that au pairing is supposed to be a secure way to get to another place and experience and live with a family, etc. Kind of like a different version of tapif, except tapif were in schools. In this case, you're like a mini nanny. You're not supposed to be a full-blown nanny.
No, the pay is like $300 a month too. Right.
They give you a little bit of money, a place to stay, a family to learn about the language and the culture, and then you exchange for taking care of the kids. And I'm really glad to hear you got it in the second family.
Yeah, me too. It was a nightmare. I was like stranded in Toulouse, and I couldn't afford to fly back to the US the next day. I needed at least a month or two, and it was perfect. They just needed me to watch the kid for like 2 months. And his English was and still is really good. So is the whole family's. And yeah, that's great. Great experience in the end. But
yeah. Au pairing isn't perfect, just like tapif isn't perfect. The thing is so this was in between year 1 and year 2 of tapif. And so tapif is a typically 8 to 9 month contract. And then what happens is your visa attached to that contract expires. And then you have to go usually back to wherever you're from, redo the paperwork, and then come back if you want to do a second year. And so between my first year and second year of tapif, that's what I did. I went home for 3 months and then I came back. After my second year of tapif, I didn't want to go home for the summer. And so your story, unfortunately, your kind of horror story being an au pair, reminds me of something that I have not been able to talk about on the podcast because I just finally, spoiler, won a lawsuit. Mind you, finally. For those listening who know a little bit about this already, yes, it is true. I have finally won.
As you should.
But in between my last year of tapif and my first year of being a teacher at the university, a lectrice, which I've talked about on the podcast before, so in between my second and third round in France, years in France, I wanted to stay for the summer. And so my visa I knew was expiring in May. And leading up to that, I found a family that was looking for a nanny, a full-time nanny. I thought I was going to do nannying all summer. Long story short,
Very long story.
Signed a hiring promise, which ended up being our contract for how much I was going to be paid, how many hours I was going to work, etc. I was upfront and honest. I was even recruited by their former nanny to replace her. And so they met me. They knew I had no formal training as a nanny. I just told them right off the bat, I need the job. I need you to help me do my visa paperwork. And I have a ton of nieces and nephews, so I know how to take care of little kids.
Yeah.
Well, like Maddie, things are a little bit more complicated than that. And so I needed to extend my visa, change the status from temporary contract to a indefinite contract and all these things. And, at first they were very helpful and very open. And, we signed this hiring promise and I was working 50 hours a week for this family.
It's a lot for France.
You're not allowed to work that much.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I was taking care of little kids, and you're supposed to have a formal education to do that. I didn't know that, but they did. And so there's lots of things that was going on in the background that I wasn't aware of. And I thought I was going to get the help that I wanted from them, which was literally just a job and extending my visa. That's it.
That's it.
And being paid like a livable wage. In the end, they fired me after a month, which they said it was because they had a spot in a daycare, which maybe eventually they did, but they seem to have lied about that as well. They let me go over text message, and then I had to show up to work the next day, and I cried because I was like, what did I do wrong? And they told me verbatim, you did nothing wrong. We just got a place in the daycare. And I'm like, okay, well, this really screws me up. Like, I was honest up front. I was like, this really screws me up.
People think that it's like, these are life, when you don't live here and you're not European, these are life-altering mere decisions that these families are
like, I had to go back to the US, and like, imagine I was not in a position where I could go back to somewhere safe. You know what I mean? Like, imagine
seriously.
If I didn't have the resources I did at that time. I was stuck because I had applied to a bunch of lectrice jobs that I didn't get good responses from yet. So they knew I had nothing. And so, okay, they fire me. I'm still very gracious. I thank them for their time. I send them my hours because it's the end of the month. I send them my hours and the total. And I send them a note to say, hey, we signed this contract, this hiring promise that specifically says if we break
which engages
this,
them.
If we break this, one person pays the other like an indemnity. I don't know how to say it in.
Yeah, me neither.
So,
I was looking
but
for
this
the
is
word.
basically like, hey, you broke your promise, so here's a little bit of cash to make up for it. Well, when I sent them that email, their response was, no, we're not paying you what we promised we'd pay you. We're actually going to pay you less, which was what I agreed to do on a temporary basis, like before the official contract started. I had done a couple days as like a trial, and I agreed to €7 an hour. And then from the beginning of the contract, dated and signed, it was supposed to be 11 something, and then after taxes it would be less. So because they didn't do any of my paperwork and all this stuff, I just gave them like an after tax amount based on my hours plus the amount of the indemnity. And they said, nope, we're going to pay you only the €7 an hour because that's all you're worth, basically. You have no rights, so we don't have to do anything. You don't actually earn what you're supposed to. You don't have any formal training,
Which they knew.
Which they knew. And good luck, basically. Like, sorry.
You don't have an apartment somewhere in France?
Yeah. And so I was stuck. And I couldn't, like you, go back to the US.
No, it's way too expensive.
So I Schengen hopped. In order to reset my visa, which by this time had expired. So I was like,
I gotta get out.
Between.
Yeah.
I needed to get out of the Schengen zone, and then re-entering, going through customs again, would turn my quote unquote expired visa into a legal tourist visa.
The stamp counts as the proof or whatever. Not anymore. The rule has changed since, so it's automatic. Good. Thank God.
Thank God.
But
at that point, we're talking 2023. It was still the case. And so that's when I randomly went to Scotland, came back, was a little bit relieved to have gotten, okay, now at least I have all my paperwork in order. But I had to go back to the US. Before I went back to the US to redo all of my paperwork, I had thankfully gotten a job. I'd gotten my lectrice job, my last final one that ended up being glorious, 2 years with a great group of people. So that came 6 days after they fired me.
Well, thank God.
So thank the Lord for that one. Thank the universe. Thank whatever powers may be at work. And things slowly fell into place. But what was still missing was I had gotten screwed by this family for no reason. And I took it upon myself to consult again the powers that be, being the French tribunal, which is the French justice system. And I sued them. I sued them for the work that they underpaid me for. And the fact that they misused my status and
so immoral.
And then on top of that, didn't even properly fire me. Like, there were so many rules that they broke.
Because all of this to say, people will try to take advantage of you because you're foreign. Yeah. So watch out.
Yeah. And this is a very topical
have
thing, right? With everything going on with the US right now, the immigration police violating all kinds of constitutional rights in the names of laws that don't even actually pertain to them, right? Arresting US citizens and deporting US citizens and violating people's, again, personal and constitutional rights in the name of some weird idea that we can just mistreat immigrants, right?
Because we are immigrants here.
That's what we are. Like this is another, in comparison to that, minor example of how we are like fighting to be here. It
exists everywhere. It's a constant battle to try to stay.
It's a constant battle.
Even if you do everything right.
Even if you do everything right and you try and you trust people.
Don't trust anyone.
That's the thing. Don't trust anybody. If there's any moral to the story, any tip I can give is get everything in writing, because luckily I had everything in writing. And yes, it took 2.5 years. But I finally came out on the other side. I didn't get like some, thank you, I didn't get some big sum of money. I got the money that they owed me, pretty much. And honestly, like, they had to waste their time and energy suing me back. Right?
They were so rude.
They hired a lawyer. Yeah, like they made up a bunch of lies and stuff like this. Like, it was literally 2.5 years of them just trying to bury their heads in the sand, ignore the justice system. Like, hey, they owed me money. They tried to ignore it. I got a lawyer for free. Thank you again, French justice system, because otherwise I would not have been able to afford it. And, you know, justice thankfully came out on my side. Again, it wasn't like the jury came back and was like, oh my gosh, yes, they're horrible and they owe you all this money and they broke all these rules. They have
to stay neutral, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And they allowed me to stand up for myself and acknowledged in their final documents, like, you had the right to do this and you were right to have filed for this, like, mistreatment, basically, and underpayment and all this stuff. And so, yeah, I've been dealing with that for the last 2.5 years, and I can finally say it's over.
Everything works out.
Everything works out.
Knock on wood once again.
Thank God. Oh, God. So that's just us, like, fighting to stay, and it's so hard.
It is hard.
There's so many more things, honestly, that happened within the lawsuit and while I was a nanny for them. If those details are going to come out, they're going to have to come out in person. They're not
This is your no context.
This is kind of like a big teaser, yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever curious about that, you can talk to me about it in person. But just know that, man,
in the end, you won. So
we won.
C'est le principe, as you say in French.
Yes. You know, we're better for it. One thing I learned from this, again, is standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
And this really was a team effort. Like, my roommates were helping me through this. My dad even managed to, like, try to, you know, find anyone he knew in France, because I came here not knowing anyone. He was like, I met this guy once. He might be able to.
I have a couple lawyer friends if you need them. In Lyon.
Hopefully not anymore.
Paralegal friend.
But yeah. And so we're just two examples of
fighting against the current.
Literally fighting against the current. They do not want us to stay. Yeah. I get it. You know, there's the administration, the paperwork you have to go through.
But we're doing everything right. And even then it's difficult, you know. Yeah.
This is not an advertisement, on a positive advertisement,
no.
I would say, for trying to move abroad. It is not easy.
No.
It might be easy sometimes to get here, but
I was gonna
staying
is
hard.
Staying is hard.
Staying is hard.
Staying is...
This has really been an uphill
upward.
battle for the two.
Uphill, I was saying upward. That's the consequence of now both us being bilingual is
it's true.
losing and looking words. For our words. It's actually annoying sometimes,
so
but
yeah, and then we sound really pretentious because there's words that we forget in English but we only know in French.
It's like those memes of like, studies abroad for 2 months, but no, we've lived here for like many years time. Now, so we could say that.
Yeah. Big thanks to Group Fen Expert, Southeast Florida's trusted experts in impact window and door installations. Family owned since 2001, they're dedicated to top quality products, expert service, and keeping homes safe. Thanks, guys.
So for me, after my au pair fiasco that ended well, I did tapif again.
Yes.
This time I worked in a different city that was like far away, but there was nothing to find there, so I decided to live in Nantes, and that's how we met. Yes, and both Sarah and I actually were able to extend our contracts, which I did my first year too. You can like write a letter to the state and basically say, hey, I want like a 2-3 month extension to be able to help the students with their bac, their
graduating class,
high school finals, basically. And so we both got an extension. So by the end, it was just like me and you hanging in Nantes.
After our first year.
Yeah.
That was so funny. And everybody else had left.
Everyone else had left.
And we had managed to get this, which is what, for the record, I was trying to get the second year with the whole nannying situation. Anyway.
But when you have a contract with an extension, it's much easier.
Yeah,
when it's
this
like
was extending the same contract, not changing.
It's giving you an extension. Yeah.
So it, it went off kind of without a hitch for the first year. That was nice. We got like an extra month, right, before we ended up having to go back to the US. And just the two of us, this is what I love about it, is because we were alone, essentially, like just still working a little bit, and we were just looking for things to do. Yeah. And we did have one trip we took outside of Nantes to Angers, which is spelled Angers. Yes. Angers.
Just a 30-minute train outside of Nantes. Yeah. Love the city. Almost did my master's there. So cute.
It's so cute. And we had a friend of mine that I'd met on a trip, actually, who lived over there that we met up with. And this is, I think, our main travel story together, I would say. Yeah. Because this turns in so many unexpected directions, because all we wanted to do was go to Angers, see our friend Sarah. Shout out to Sarah. And, we decided, because it's very bikeable over there. We wanted...
Summertime, too. It's like May or June, I think.
Yeah, May or June. Yeah. And so we wanted to bike around. Sarah had given us some places to go, and then she was going to join us on this bike ride to go visit a winery. Yes. A vineyard. And we were going to do...
Sounded so fun.
Yeah, we were going to do a wine tasting.
We rented the bikes, I remember, in this bike shop. And the beginning of the bike ride was great. Yeah. Oh, it was so cool. I remember we took videos.
Oh my gosh, it was so nice.
The weather was amazing. We even went by their version of a beach. I don't even know if it's technically a beach, but
it's like a lake beach.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're biking and this forest. It was a bike path to start with.
Yeah. Well, at least we're following the path. There was the first sign of things going haywire was Sarah got sick. And she had to turn around.
Yeah, I remember.
So we did a little bit of the bike trip with Sarah. And then it ended up just being the two of us. And it was beautiful, like you said.
Stunning. We're on this little bridge.
Yeah.
I remember.
We saw kayakers and stuff.
Yeah. We're
in
not
the
in
rapids
Angers anymore.
Stuff. No.
Definitely not.
And when you're leaving Angers, you're seeing all the
Kansas.
city, this little village city kind of thing. And there's a castle.
The castle is...
that you can
better
see.
Than the one in Nantes, in my opinion, but
yeah, sorry, Nantes, but
sorry,
beautiful.
Sorry to you.
And it was a beautiful day. We had all the luck in the world, And then I think from when Sarah got sick, things started to get a little
when we
questionable.
Biked across that little bridge.
Yeah,
it was we're on a highway,
and we're following Google Maps, right?
Yeah,
and they're saying that we're gonna get to the vineyard in however long. I think we gave ourselves 2 hours. Yeah, but it said it was gonna be an hour and a half. I think it ended up taking us 2.5 hours.
There was one time it was up. It was tough. I'm athletic, kind of. Well, I would say yes.
You're athletic.
I'm athletic naturally.
But being able to ride bikes uphill is a whole...
We're not cyclists.
You need to train for that. No. So we're biking, and then suddenly we're on a highway. And I'm like, I think this is going to take longer than we think. And we call the vineyard, and they're like, it's okay, we'll wait for you. And we're like, whoa, that's crazy.
We were late.
That's
right.
nice. I told them we were going to be at least 10 minutes late. It was probably more at this point, I didn't know. But I was we're going to be late.
Too, I think.
And... we go from beautiful, lakeside, riverside bike ride through the forest and stuff to highway, and then, not really bike trail anymore, to, now we're in, another village, and it's all uphill. The point on the end of the map is uphill. And we ended up walking the bikes, I think, up the hill most of the way. Yeah. Until... we get to the vineyard again, or what we think is the vineyard, we have no idea how to get...
It's the back, there. Not even of the property. There were acres and acres and acres. It's
acres of...
There was this fence for
vines.
Do we enter this way? Obviously this is not correct.
So it had been 2.5 hours, and we're just in the middle of the vineyard now. We walked our bikes through the vineyard, like through the
through the back,
like which ended up being, yes, the back of the vineyard we were visiting.
It's like, this is definitely not allowed, but
we were gonna get
whatever.
in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Like, who are these two girls? It was insane.
No one was there. It was ghost town everywhere.
Everywhere. Middle of the day, like bright sunlight.
It was hot too, I remember.
But thankfully, we didn't get caught. We just like managed to find our way to the entrance.
Front, yeah.
And we're sweating.
I arrived so sweaty.
Off. Oh
yeah.
Like, and we're still going to like a nice vineyard like wine tasting, so we show up and we're like
wearing
sweating bullets.
boy shorts and like yeah, whatever.
Biker
She was
gear.
really nice though.
They were incredible.
It ended up, once again, it worked out.
It worked out.
It was a great tour. Only ones there. She definitely gave us way more wine than we were supposed to have.
Yeah, we got a private tour because no one else showed up.
Literally.
That's why they waited for us, which is insane. And we only paid like €9
yeah.
a person, I think.
The wine was good
€9 a
too.
person. We got so many little wine.
The lady took photos of us.
She did.
I remember.
Oh my God, so funny. So we, again, ended up having, honestly, like a great time at the wine tasting. But then we had to get back. And on the way back, we knew not to go through the
back end.
The
Not
vineyard
an entrance,
again.
the back.
But I mean, going down the hill was better on the bikes, I guess.
It was long though.
And we
It was
tried to take a
awesome.
shortcut because we were like, why? There was a point where we tried to cut through like what ended up being like, I think, private property.
Yeah.
And then there was a fence and then a brick wall that we had to throw the bikes over.
Oh my gosh, wait, I
Do you
totally forgot
remember?
about this. Dude.
We had to throw the bikes over a wall that was
It was the
taller
only
than
way
the
to
two of
go.
us. Like, oh my God, just to get to the road on the other side. Oh my God.
It was fun, but
Oh my God. That was crazy. That was our big adventure during our little extension of Tapif before we went back.
yeah.
And we learned a lot from that too, I think.
Yeah, I guess plan ahead.
Just
It's not just a little, like, it's like the equivalent of like, oh, we're going on a cute little hike, and it's like a hike.
give yourself
like we
way
went on
more
like a
time.
bike ride.
yeah,
like, it's
give
not
yourself
just,
way more time.
yeah.
Don't trust the maps for bikes. Like, it's not
Maybe
the same
take an
thing as
Uber.
driving. Honestly, don't bike to your wine tasting.
Yeah, maybe we
That's
should have biked, dropped them back,
Yeah.
Ubered to the vineyard.
Maybe. That should have been.
So then after I finished the 2 years of Tapif, at the time you could only do 2 years of it. They now allow you to do 3.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an option. I think I toyed with the idea of trying to do a third year with my same school. But once again, you have to have work authorization. It's the state who handles it. So that was not an option. And I still wanted to do my master's like I had applied to in college. And now COVID was less of a thing. And so it was the time. However, at this point, because I ended up testing into level C1 after 2 years.
Bravo, bravo.
Thanks.
C1 level French, which is advanced fluent for the record.
Yes. But the thing is I had mainly learned orally, right? So I decided to do what's called a DUEF diploma, which is called a University Diploma in French Studies. This is definitely a way to get /renew a student visa for those wondering, because you have to apply for it. The application process was pretty easy, but I decided to stay in Nantes, even though all of you guys left. And yeah, I basically decided to do that so that I could know how to write in French and everything, because I wanted to do my master's in French.
Right.
So I needed to know how to write and like what the school system was like, etc. And if you are applying to masters taught in French, you have to have a DELF or a DALF. They usually ask for C1 official certification in the language to prove that you'll be able to follow lectures and go to seminars and follow the course content, of course.
So the DELF and the DALF are two different exams that you can take to prove your French level, right? And they have different purposes, right? I took the DELF actually last year and I got my C1.
Yay,
I am also certified fluent in French. And so you need these kinds of exams often for jobs or for school.
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically for school, yeah. So I took a C1 like diploma in the fall. I didn't know if I was ready to take the C1 exam that soon, so I decided to take the B2 exam, even though I was in the C1 class. I nailed the B2 exam. In February, I took the C1 because basically you apply, if you're applying to a public French university, it's on just the same program called Mon Master.
Okay.
And it's free to apply. I think you have a limit of 15 normal masters and 15 what's called alternance.
Okay.
Which you work part-time and study part-time. But it was totally free. You apply in the spring, get your results in the summer. The wait lists move a lot. Anyways, so in February during my then C2 class, I decided to take the C1 because I had to have C1 for most of the masters. Some asked for B2, most asked for C1. So, and there were no exam centers near Nantes at all who were proposing the C1 before the applications were going to start.
Right.
And so I was like, shoot, like I need to take this. Like the B2 isn't going to suffice for a lot of the programs I was looking into. And so it just so happened that the Catholic University in Lyon was proposing the C1, and that was another city I was looking at to do my master's. Everyone and their mother was like, Lyon, like, and I had that in my head too, obviously. And so I, once again, was gonna kill two birds with one stone, gonna go visit Lyon, see what all the hype is about, see if I can see myself there, and take the DALF.
Yeah.
I succeeded the DALF, really liked Lyon. I ended up taking the C2 randomly in June because there was like a discount because I was already a student at the same university. I was going into it being like, okay, I'm either going to barely pass or barely fail. And hey, I passed.
Okay.
So
Another side note. So we're talking a lot about B2, C2, etc. A1, A2, right, is beginner. B1, B2 is intermediate.
Yeah.
C1, C2 is advanced or fluent French. Okay. If you didn't know that. So then that means now that you understand that Maddie got the C2 certificate in French. Okay. She's so good at French. It's so hard.
It's
C2
hard.
is you master the language. There are people who speak fluent French their whole lives and could maybe not pass the C2 exam.
It was tough.
It's
like,
a
I don't even.
hard exam.
I didn't need, everyone's like, why'd you do that? You didn't even need it. The thing is.
And like nothing requires it unless you're like an interpreter or something. Or translator, right?
And some masters require it if it's like you're going to be studying like philosophy in French. Like you need to know like French like the back of your hand.
It's technically useless, but it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, but like everyone's like, why'd you take that? You didn't need it. But like there was the discount, and I told myself if I'm ever going to take this exam,
it's now.
It's now or never. All year I had just been practicing the exercises, everything, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it, why not? And I passed, so cool. Whatever, valid for life. Which is a slay.
That is a slay.
And then the results came out for the masters. I had applied to 15, including Nantes University. I wanted to move out of Nantes though. I was like ready to move on. I got into I think like 5 initially, and then 3 I was definitively rejected from, and the others I was put on a wait list, but the wait lists move really quickly. So I remember I was visiting my friend Nikos in Sweden, and basically that was when the results were coming out, and they were there when I got off the wait list for Lyon.
So exciting. And
it was another international relations program, and it was a bit, which the program was rough, honestly. It was very poli-sci heavy, and I wanted more of like a cultural aspect, even though my concentration was in cultural and linguistic development. But I inevitably chose that program because it was in Lyon, and I wanted to go to Lyon. So I chose it, and then did my master's there for 2 years. And then it's technically a professional master's, which means you have to do an end of studies internship in order to validate and graduate. Even though you also had to write a research paper while you were doing said internship. Bref. So I was also struggling to find an internship for literally months. Like it's a pretty demoralizing experience, like applying, ghosting. And it got to the point where it was like, if I didn't get an internship in time, I would have to redo the year, which I didn't want to do.
So scary.
Because my whole plan was like, get your French up, do your master's degree, find a job and stay. That was like the plan. And so I was getting rejection, a couple interviews, but never got it. And it was becoming a little bit, it was like March. And I was like, okay, the last time for me to get the internship was like June, because it had to be at least 3 months anyways. But I was like, classes were done. We had already taken our finals for that semester. And it was like, now's the time to do your internship. And so I randomly had the idea, because we had all the records of where everyone who had done this program did their internships since like dating back to like 2008.
Which is great, honestly.
Yeah. And so for some, because I knew I had taken the TCF at the Alliance Française in Normandy, like years before even I took the DELF.
Oh, you took like another French exam at an Alliance Française. Okay.
Yes, in Normandy. So I knew the name. I knew it was like the French Alliance group, like French classes. And so I decided to control find Alliance Française and see where people had applied dating back to 2008. I applied to every single one that I found in those records. And I applied to, applied as in I cold applied. I sent my CV, I sent my cover letter, which luckily,
hoping they had a spot, like not to any opening.
No opening. And the thing is too, now that I work there, each Alliance Française works independently, which is a common misconception. So people come to the one in Paris and are like, where's my DELF from Reno, Nevada? I'm like, in the Alliance Française in Reno, Nevada, girl. Like, we don't have anything to do with the other ones.
There's one in Florida. They're all over the world.
Portland,
to like share the French language, right?
Yes, exactly. There's over 800.
Wow.
Yeah. So even though, like I said, they all work independently, they all share the same values. So I was able to just tweak the cover letter and just put the name of what I was applying to. So I applied to every single one that was on those records, and I applied to every single one in France, just sending my CV and cover letter in. In the end, I think I sent 60 out. Wow. I got accepted to the Alliance Française in Tunisia. That one was not paid, though. So even though life is cheaper there, but I got accepted to one in Cambridge. But that one was also unpaid, and housing and life there is expensive. I also got accepted to Aix-en-Provence in the south, and Paris and Lyon. So 5 in the end out of 60. But thank God, I don't know why this came to my mind, but I did that. And it was really hard for me to decide between Aix and Paris.
I remember. We were texting about it.
Yeah, I think so.
There was a
yes,
point
I was asking advice for everyone because I was so indecisive about this, because Aix, like, the internship would have been so cool. Like, you go to the Calanque and you just like a summer in like near Marseille, like that's so fun. But then Paris has the opportunities, right? So I was struggling, and I inevitably decided to do Paris. And no regrets because they hired me after my internship. Heck yeah. I validated my diploma, I graduated, wrote my thesis.
Yes.
Very difficult, especially working full time, but I did it. It was 2025 was probably the hardest year of my life, not gonna lie, but I succeeded. So once again, c'est le principe.
Yes.
They hired me after, and now I'm working there and in the process of turning it into a full-time position.
Heck yeah. Voilà. So proud of you, Maddie.
Thanks.
You did such again, like trials and tribulations of trying to stay, trying to finish your master's, trying to validate your diploma and be able to stay and find a job and all of these things. And with a master's at a French university, you typically get a year after graduating to find a job. Is that
if you
true?
go that route for a visa. Okay. I'm going the other route.
Okay.
Where the company is sponsoring me.
Okay.
But it's much more difficult. You have to find a company who's willing to do that. So I'm very thankful and grateful that I have the best team. Honestly, I love my job, and
That's so great.
It's really rewarding, and I think I provide a unique experience to the students too.
Yeah.
Because, they come up and ask about such exams, and, I'm someone who can say, hey, I'm not native either. Here's my personal advice. Yeah. And I work in customer service, and they appreciate my opinion, and
That's awesome.
It's great.
Aww, good for you, Maddie. Well, speaking of getting your visa sponsored, another little announcement from my end. Some people already know this, some people don't. I did my 2 years as a lectrice, and then I wanted to continue, right? end of the school year in 2025 last summer, before I went to La Réunion. I mentioned that on a couple episodes this season. I needed to figure out what I was going to do for the following year, for this moment that we're living in right now.
I remember you visited me in Paris.
Yeah, freaking out because I was applying to find
Me too.
Yes,
we both were like looking and then it worked out.
Again, we panicking.
Knew though. I remember us talking and I was like, we'll figure it out because if anyone's going to figure it out, it's us. Like, we're going to figure it out.
And, well, hey.
And you did.
And we did. So it didn't exactly go the way I'd hoped it would. So I didn't have the luck I'd had 2 years prior where a job that I was really hoping to get fell into my lap. In fact, it was sadly the opposite. I had basically been waitlisted summer 2025 for quite a few jobs that I really wanted, where I was going to be able to continue working at the university, a job as a contractuel, because you can only be a lecteur or a lectrice for 2 years. A contractuel, a contractual, would allow me to be on a contract as a professor as I was, basically doing the same job as a lecteur, but for anywhere from 1 to 5 years. I didn't get those jobs. I got second place for quite a few. And so I ran around like a chicken with its head cut off for a few weeks. Luckily, my visa hadn't expired yet, wasn't immediately expiring. So I had a little bit of time to do that. And back in September, I managed to land a job at a boulangerie. And so for the last few months...
Emily in Paris of you.
So the last few months, I've actually been juggling a full-time job at a French bakery, a very, very French
Lyonnais
bakery.
French bakery, shout out.
Ironically, a bakery from Lyon, but in Bordeaux.
Because they got that good praline bread.
They have all these specialties from Lyon. And it's wonderful, and the people that I work with are amazing. I'm juggling that at the same time that I am still teaching, so it's still something that I've been doing now. This will be my 3rd year teaching radio and podcasting at a private school, but everybody always asks, well, why didn't that let you stay? Well, it's not a full-time job. It's on a different kind of contract that isn't supported by a visa that would allow me to stay in France. It's a monthly contract, actually, and you can't get a year-long visa on a monthly contract.
Yeah.
So in order to stay, I had to find something that I could reapply for a visa with. And, they gave me this shot at the boulangerie, and I've learned so much about French food and pastries, and honestly, I know way more about bread than I ever thought I would now. And it's really been a very tough but very unique experience. The hours suck, I'm not gonna lie.
We're both working in customer service
now. This isn't gonna be forever, I know that, and so I'm kind of living in the moment a little bit and saying hey, in 30, 40 years, or even right now, I get to tell the story of me working.
What we're doing is iconic. Let me just say that.
Let me tell you, it makes me want to look at things a little bit differently, outside of myself. I don't work the best hours, and I'm not necessarily dreaming about working at the bakery the rest of my life, but it's a moment. It's not just a temporary period of my life. This is a moment that I never imagined myself in, but is pretty iconic. And
for sure,
it's gonna stay
iconic.
It's gonna stay temporary. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'm really gonna look back on this and go, what and
romanticize it.
What
for sure.
did I do? Yeah. That's the coolest thing.
Literally.
And so now I'm back on the job search actually for the next steps, but that'll be in a little bit. You
guys will discover.
I gotta live out my bakery moment. I am in the process of extending my visa, and then. Once I do the best job I can at the bakery, I'll move on to do something probably a little bit more in my wheelhouse. I'm keeping my options open, but another example of us struggling to stay.
Speaking of that, Sarah, last time we saw each other, she visited me in my temporary sublet that I had in Paris.
Oh, yes.
I now found an apartment since finishing my internship, taking the other job, etc. New apartment's great.
Yes, and when I saw you, you hadn't accepted a job there yet. You were just at the end of your internship.
Exactly.
Doing your thesis.
And she crashed at mine a couple times.
Yes.
So she saw the sublet
Yes.
that I had.
Yeah.
You visited before the incident occurred and then after, I believe.
And then after, yeah.
So,
Speaking
the other
of struggling.
trials and tribulations, one day, because I specifically got this sublet because the guy who was living there was going on an internship in Berlin for the same exact time as I was doing my internship in Paris.
Right.
At this time, I didn't know I was staying, not necessarily. And it was a 15-minute walk from where I worked. So it was perfect. Well, right away, my friend came with me to go visit the apartment. There was no service in the apartment, like, at all. Like, not a question of Wi-Fi, just, like, literally no service. Just this really old building, So as it is, precarious situation to write my thesis. My phone was, like, hanging out the window, hotspot on, while I'm, like, cranking out my thesis in this tiny, tiny studio. And I have a cat, by the way. I adopted a cat. Tricky. I adopted her just about 2 years ago from an association in Lyon. So she came with me to Paris, obviously. And so I get home from the internship one day and I heard something as I was, like, unlocking my door. It sounded like water dripping. I opened the door and there is water falling from the entire ceiling, like falling from... There were multiple cracks. The water was coming from everywhere. And my poor cat is sitting on my bed, screaming, traumatized. Now when it starts raining, she starts screaming because she thinks there's another flood.
Oh, baby.
So basically, there was a flood happening. And I didn't know this is very common in Paris. Power outages as well. And it wasn't like, oh, you can just put like a bucket under where it's dripping. It was dripping from everywhere. The kitchen was tucked around in the corner. There was like at least like 3-4 inches of water. The kitchen was flooded, flooded. Water coming everywhere. I didn't know what to do. I first call the dad of the guy who lived there. So not even the landlord, but just like, 'cause it's a sublet.
Yeah.
He's not even in Paris. He was like, well, call the police. I call the police. They say, this is not possible. Call the firefighter. This is so French. No, it's not possible. You need to call the police. Well, I just did. They told me to call you. I'm panicking. I'm like, towels everywhere. Like, I grabbed all my electronics. I put my cat in her little backpack carrier. I called my parents. I'm freaking out. I called like my friend Javier because I was like, dude, we have a joke now. It's like whenever I call him, it's like
a crisis.
He ended up coming later, but then basically I was knocking on all the doors. I went upstairs
to see where the flood was
to see what was
from.
happening.
Yeah.
And the apartment directly above, you could hear outside of the door. It was as if someone had taken the faucet and turned it all the way on.
Oh no.
It was like, psh, And so I was like, what the heck is going on? Like knocking. I'm knocking on all these doors. This one neighbor helped me briefly and Google told her to call an emergency plumber. I call an emergency plumber. He's like, yes, I'll be there shortly. I'm like, great. He arrives. Not a very nice guy. He essentially was like, I can't, you don't have access to the apartment? I'm like, no, my sublet, this isn't even my apartment. My sublet is being flooded. And like the ceiling was starting to like dip, dude. Like I was panicking. And it's scary. like I said, like, psh, like water, you know? And so he's like, like I can't break the door down. So good luck. And was like, how are you paying today? Charged me 100 euros, which the dad paid me back.
Thank God.
Because they felt bad, but like, what the heck?
He did nothing. He just knocked on the door.
He just left. And I'm sobbing at this point. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? No one's helping me. No one's here. I don't know anyone in this building. Like, what do I do? And then as he's like, like, I have to go. Like, screw you, basically.
Oh, no.
As he was leaving, this girl was coming to the building, like, from a run. Her name was Sephora, funnily enough. I'd never heard that name before. But she was super nice. She had a group chat with the building. Then basically the lady who owned the apartment, no one was living there. There was just a pipe burst in the toilets. But the lady was like, there's so many floods in that building. Like, I've come so many times and there hasn't been a flood. It wasn't coming from my apartment. Like, I don't believe you. Like, refused. And so we ended up having to like cut the water for the entire building, even though that was going to upset people. Because I was like, guys, the building is going to come down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we need to do something. If we can't get in there and close off their water, let's cut it off for everyone.
You don't have another option, really. And
the lady too was like, you need to make sure the water isn't coming from the floor above into mine first. And it's Airbnbs on the floor above hers. And like,
so complicated.
It's, yeah. In the end though, they shut off the water for everything. The son of the lady came. There was an issue with the toilets. They fixed it. But like, the water damage was really bad. The actual landlady had to come in and like FaceTime the syndic to like see the water damage. I learned new vocabulary like dégâts d'eau, water damage, fuite, flood.
I also know those words because I've had similar issues in my own apartment.
Jeez, I didn't know everyone's like in Paris happens all the time. But
oh my God,
this wasn't my first struggle with housing in France.
Oh my God,
I had a carpet beetle larva infestation in Lyon.
What?
During the punaise de lit,
bed bugs?
The bed bug crisis in Paris.
Oh my God, there was a bed bug crisis in Paris.
I had just arrived to Lyon when that was happening, and I was kind of being a hermit and kind of moping, you know, before you make friends and you're in a new city. And I started getting allergic reactions and like eczema all over my skin. I remember you
texting me about this. Oh my God.
Yes. And
carpet beetles, you said?
Carpet beetles. No one knows what this is. Even in French, like in English, it's like, they're like, what the hell? It's like, you might know what, they look like these tiny little worms, like little larvae. But during this crisis, I was like, I don't know why I have like eczema and like dry skin and like allergic reaction. I look under my mattress in Lyon and there's all these little larva worms of carpet beetles. And so had that cleaned out. Then I had mice in Lyon too. That kind of motivated me to adopt Tricky, although I always knew I wanted to adopt a cat while I was like single in my 20s.
True. That's a very old school way to handle mice. Just get a cat.
Literally, she killed 2 of them. And then once their scent is there for a while, they don't dare come in. So
nice. That's cool.
It worked out.
Oh my God. Yeah. The apartment struggles.
Yes.
Jeez.
But my new apartment's great, and I have a balcony, which is really fun.
Ooh, that is nice.
Never had a balcony and a bathtub, which is cool.
Whoa.
But yeah.
Here, this apartment is honestly, we don't pay a lot. We don't pay a lot, and it's super nice, and it's my home, and I love it. But there's so many little problems, and like they don't, and it's a lot of it is due to it just being a really old building.
Yeah.
This one building is 100 years old. The part of what I love about this apartment, it is on the top floor, but it is, you know, so the ceilings are high and all this, and it has these beautiful brick walls, and it's called like the Bordeaux brick. Like this building is like very much a representation of like a typical building in this region, in this city, but it's not at all like insulated. So in the winter we're freezing, and in the summer we're so hot, and you know, a couple of years back we had leaks, and there's like and I had to file all this paperwork through the insurance company, and I learned all that, and we had mold because of the leaks, and there was a chimney collapsing behind my wall a few months ago, and I have these big cracks in my wall. So mind you, again, dealing with all of this and then not knowing exactly what your rights are as a renter, because you're in a new country and everything's really hard to understand in administrative language, like all of those things on top of it. Oh God. Another example of, you know, we like to talk about the highlights, I think, of moving abroad and staying abroad, but in every way, from home to school to work, like, and everywhere in which friends, like, we've thankfully come so far.
Yeah,
but like,
we really have.
Man, it's like relearning how to live. You're literally relearning how to live.
But what an adventure. Honestly, I don't have any regrets. I have no regrets. Yeah, I think what we're doing is very cool and unique and special, and we should be really proud of ourselves, honestly.
I think so too. I think so too. Some days we have to tell ourselves that, because it's hard when you're living in the moment and things are really like, you imagine like, I could just go home and understand everything and everything would just be quote unquote easier. But I don't think especially now having lived this experience, I don't think I'd be happy if I had to give it all up, you know. So we're just going to keep struggling
powering
to stay.
through, yeah. And we'll get
sure.
there. I know we will.
I know. Well, we're here. We just have to stay.
Yes.
We're just looking for that 10-year visa or citizenship.
Exactly.
That'll make things easier.
Yes. Once we're French. Oh, the day.
Oh, the day.
Oh, the day.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, hold on. That reminds me. We're wrapping up here, and that means we have to get back to something we said at the beginning.
Right.
Maddie.
Yes.
Are you going to share with us the context to your no context story?
I'll just leave you guys with one sentence.
No? Okay.
I was the French girl.
Oh!
My lips are sealed.
Oh, God. Okay.
Read it as you want.
Okay. So, it's been a while since we haven't had the context. All right. Well, we're just going to let our imaginations run wild then, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you, Maddie. Thank you for
Sarah.
being here.
It was great.
This has been a walk down memory lane. Maybe a limp down memory lane.
Yes.
Because hasn't been all of the best memories, but honestly, I'm really happy to have you and to have met you and to be doing this with someone like you, even though you're in another city. Like, I think you and I have this special bond. Yeah. And we're really serious about supporting each other.
And we survived.
And
we're still together. We're still trekking.
And again, even through all the hard parts, like, this is still a really, like, cool life. So
completely. Couldn't agree more.
So if you enjoyed the episode, if you want to hear more, if you want to see some behind the scenes things, please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at travellikeyou.pod. If you'd like to be featured on the podcast, you can email me at travellikeyou.pod@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram or TikTok at the same handle I just mentioned. Thank you again for listening, and thank you, Maddie, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Love you so much.
Yes, love you too.
Bye.